righty. Good morning and welcome to the Curry County Board of Commissioners business meeting, March 16th, 2022. It's 9:02 a.m. We're going to rise and going to call to order and say the Pledge of Allegiance. And before we do that pledge this morning, if you'll give me a little latitude, I think we'll have a moment of silence for just what's going on in our world. And then we'll bow our heads first and do that moment of silence, and then I'll start in with the Pledge of Allegiance. Maybe even a little prayer in there. Who knows what's going to happen this morning. Let's do that. Heavenly Father, I offer up this meeting to you. I pray that thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, folks. Number 3 is public comments, 3 minutes per person.
Amendment.
Do amendments.
Amendments and approval of agenda. That's why these two gentlemen are here, to keep me on track. So that's what we will do right now. Any amendments?
Mr. Chair?
Yep.
Not to start the day off bad. I really appreciate that prayer, by the way. In the moment of silence, I wish we could do that every week. Maybe we could make that a sincere routine. On the Commissioner Pash agenda item 6A from last week, he was at the top of the agenda for action items, and I respectfully listened. I had a short response. On March 3rd, I sent the board back office a agenda routing slip so that I could have equal time, equal venue, and respond to him. It's not on the agenda, and so I'm really baffled by that. Before you respond, we also this is a compliment to Tom Huxley, but somebody made the decision that the agenda wouldn't need to be completed by Friday afternoon, which we've done almost the entire 5 years I've been here. And I didn't get this information till Tuesday morning. I was at Cape Blanco all day yesterday until 5 o'clock. So the reason I brought up Commissioner Huxley is because he knew the questions to ask to make sure we properly read this info, even on the consent agenda. So I'm just a little taken back, not sure who made that decision, why we didn't notify the public, and I think we all have an equal interest in full transparency. And but getting that Tuesday morning is not good. I have to rely on my weekends because it is so much reading.
Yeah.
I think you do too. So was that 2 commissioners that made that decision?
No, it was 1 commissioner. It was me, and as far as your specific agenda
either one,
item?
if you want to respond to either one.
As chair, I made it my agenda, or my the way I'd like to do the agenda, and I ran it through county council. The agenda has to be published 24 hours prior to this meeting, so Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock, prior to that. And so I just felt like Monday, and I apologize to the public because it was supposed to be posted on Monday afternoon, Monday evening before 5. It didn't happen, and so I take full responsibility in that. But in going forward, that's when it'll be posted. So 24 hours is what is legal. I think if we have it Monday night, all secured and finalized, will be good. And correct me if I'm wrong, Anthony, but that's completely within the you know, Tom Huxley did it his way, and you know, it's hard to, hard to break what you've been doing, but everything is, and then in accordance with that is, if there's something on the agenda that is sketchy or whatever, or somebody doesn't, then if two commissioners approve it to come off or approve it to stay on, it stays on. And so your response to Commissioner Pash's thing is, it can be addressed in commissioner comments. That's what, you know, the board can't question anybody's commissioner comments. So
you and him decided that you would pull that off the agenda.
Well, Chris's response was, I go either way, and I just said, well, then it's up to me, and I said pull it, because your comments can be, you know, you can make those comments.
But can you understand why I'm just really astonished that I wouldn't get the same?
You have the same.
No,
you have
commissioner comments is not the same as putting on the top of an action item.
Well,
I
think we'll agree to disagree on that.
Well, it looks biased, okay? I'm not
Yeah.
concluding that, but it looks biased, Commissioner, and I'm shocked.
Well,
and so it doesn't even come up on the agenda. So
there's no bias intended.
Okay, but answer me why you wouldn't want me to have the same exact venue and opportunity. And, you know, first of all, his agenda item wasn't even proper because it doesn't address anything. It doesn't tell the public what he's going to talk about. So I was bushwhacked.
Yep.
Okay. So
and I didn't agree with that.
I know you're trying to calm some of that down, and I respect that and appreciate that. But we need to understand how we got here. And I've never had this board not have two commissioners required to take something off the agenda. And so him not insisting, that in itself looks quite biased to me, by both of you. So, commissioner comments.
And my comment to that is, I didn't care for Chris's last meeting, and so that's why I'm not allowing. I mean, you can make your comments and commissioner comments, because when has two wrongs ever made a right? And so one got by, this one didn't, and that's just.
If I could conclude with this, my agenda item was very specific so the public could know what to anticipate. Mine wasn't hidden, wasn't lacking transparency, so I don't know how you could say it's wrong. Now, if both commissioners wanted it off there, I think the public needs to know that. That's a major thing. So that's saying this commissioner can, this commissioner can't.
Well,
so I can move on to the next subject if you like.
And
I'm just astonished.
And just in full transparency, that is one of the reasons the agenda will be posted on Monday evenings. Is I'm really going to vet the agendas from here on out. Too much it gets in, you know. So if there's questions on stuff, that's where it's going to happen. Over, you know, a lot of it will be done by Friday, and then over the weekend. But Monday night will be. It'll be posted Monday night and for review all day Tuesday. So do we have any?
Couldn't we have that discussion come before the board so we could all have input? That really bothers me, in that you're deciding when the agenda is going to come out. You might be right. Maybe Monday is a better time. I'll give you the rationale behind my reasons for wanting it Friday, so I have the weekend to properly review information. I need that time. So if I'm outvoted, okay, but that needs to come before the full board, in my opinion. Maybe a workshop?
Yeah. I think at one point in time, Tom Huxley said, this is the way we're going to do it. Correct me if I'm wrong, JJ. Up until then, it was done a certain way. I don't know if it came before the board. I don't think I'm overstepping my bounds, am I, Anthony, as far as...
I think you, as the chair, you have the legal right. This is, you know, your meeting to take care of the administrative things. But I do think the other commissioners, if they want you to do it different, they could overrule you with a vote.
There you go. So we can discuss that. We could have that as a discussion action item.
So, Mr. Chair, I'll move on. I'm just going to ask you to consider staying with the Friday timeline. I think that's better for the public, I think it's better for conducting business, certainly better for the commissioners, again, with the responsibility they have in all that they have to review.
Noted.
So I'm not going to have a report to respond to Mr. Pash today because I was taken off the agenda. Thank you.
Okay. Any other additions or corrections, amendments to the agenda?
I have two.
Okay.
5H, Curry County Parks.
Okay.
I'd like to pull that and talk about it in executive session, as there's some information on that that might not want to be made public.
Okay.
And then we can always bring it back at the end of the meeting to vote on it still. So we're not actually taking it off the agenda for vote today. We just want to have some private conversation about it before we vote on it.
Because we definitely want to get that order through. Okay.
And the other one I would like to pull.
Just a sec, Chris. Are you in favor of that? Are you okay with that?
What's that?
Court?
Yes, I was going to actually ask for that, not for the same reasons, but just a little quick clarification from you as liaison. Thank you.
All right.
The other one I would like to pull is 6D. We've already voted on this. It was voted down, I want to say 3 meetings ago. I'm not sure on the timeline, but to bring this back up again, I don't understand the need for bringing this back up.
So, Mr. Chair, we've had Harbor Water in our offices, and I think that I've made the case why this is incredibly important to Curry County. We have already lost a year, and you can't do anything without good water management, good water planning. AOC is running in place, prepared to help us, and it's 1%. A little bit more than 1% of the total budget. And without a plan, you can't go out and get additional funding. They won't even talk to you. And the counties that are leading in that, through the help of AOC, which is a bargain, and I think I've communicated that. So, I'm making the case now because I think I might lose on this, and I think that would just be a tragedy. There's nothing more important than water. And here we have a drought again. I included that in the agenda routing slip. Rogue River's drying up right now. So, we could get some tremendous late rain, but I started on this a year and a half ago, and their help is so legitimate and precise and helpful. And so I'm actually surprised we're spending time on, moving this off to the side again. I did follow your lead a little bit on the last one. You said, I'm just not ready to make a decision now. That was 2 months ago. And so I just don't want to lose any more time. I won't bring it up again after today. I will be very, very disappointed, but I won't bring it up again after today.
Well, I don't remember, Chris, if we did vote to, I remember saying, bring it, if we comes before us again, I would really like to just ask what we get for 25,000. And then it's come to my attention that it's not just not just a one-time 25,000, it's a yearly 25,000.
It's 18 months.
So I think I'm going to let this stand and just ask the folks today that do this, what do we get? I mean, I think that Curry County knows what we need as far as our water needs, and I want to ask them, how are they going to make a difference with our, what are they going to do that we can't do ourselves and what we're not already doing? So that's my question to them this morning or today.
So they're going to present the same one they had 2 months ago. I didn't ask them to come again because I don't want to turn them down again. If it actually
But they're going to be on Zoom.
We're just going to we're just going to replay the portion of the video where they presented.
So they're not going to be actually on. Oh, okay.
No. I mean, they would take your calls. I'm a fan of AOC.
Yeah.
And I think that's a bargain for what we get from, especially as the bigger counties grow larger in their, their lobbying persona. And they took a real interest in this. In the very beginning, I've talked to a lot of other commissioners around that have started their process several years ago, and they say, get started now.
Was there any way we could have them, join us next meeting?
Well, we lose another 3 weeks. I'm not going to be adverse to that, but I am, again, 25,000 is quite minor in my opinion for what this will do. It's the Richard Christensen concept that you put 5% on the table, 10% on the table, and it expands your capacity to get better grant funding.
Yeah, I want to know. I just want to face to face ask him what.
Let's leave it on the agenda,
Okay.
and we'll set up a phone call with you.
Okay.
And I would assume that the 8-minute presentation, whatever it is, will probably answer your questions. If not, we'll set up a call.
Okay. We'll leave that on. Any other amendments or corrections?
I just have one thing
Okay.
I want to say, and I think everybody here knows I love animals. I have a ranch with dogs, cats, horses, and goats and everything. I am highly allergic to cats.
Okay.
So I just don't want to have a chance to start having an allergic reaction.
Right.
And I hate to sound like a crybaby about that, but you will be shocked when my eyes swell shut and I'm on oxygen in an hour. So
We have a fellow outside that has a
nothing personal. I love cats.
cat on his shoulder. Okay. Yeah. So the cat stays outside of the commissioner's boardroom. So, all right, then I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Second, Mr. Chair.
Been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. All in favor say yes.
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 Motion carries 3-0. Public comments. Mary Rowe is first. Everybody knows the rules on red light, green light, and warning light.
So, can you hear me? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
So before I speak, I want to say two things. First of all, because I cannot use a computer nor a smartphone due to my disability, and there are other people who cannot, I was not able to get the agenda, even though I made 2 physical trips over here. One on Friday, the usual time, 4:30, one late Monday. And so when you put it out Monday night, for me that means Tuesday. And if I can't get here Tuesday, then I don't get it, which is what happened. People need time to review it, to research it, and to respond. You guys are our representatives. And this is the people's government. And I would ask you to give us that time by at least getting it out by 4 or 4:30 on Monday so that we can get it on Monday rather than Monday evening. Second thing I want to say, I know that the Supreme Court has upheld the right in a loose interpretation for public prayer in meetings, but I would ask you to please say a non-denominational prayer for the benefit of all of our citizens. And I believe that that is what they have upheld, not prayers that are specific to any particular belief. Thank you.
I don't know if I know how to do that.
Just keep doing what you're doing, in my opinion.
Sorry.
It might
go
be
ahead.
challenged if you keep doing what you're doing by
Sorry,
a lot
Mary.
of us, okay? And
This
I
is your
happen
time.
to,
I'm sorry.
I
just
happen
didn't
to
know.
be a Christian, but I also believe in the United States Constitution.
Yep.
I'm Mary Rowe. I'm here to speak about the tremendous need for and advantages of the Brookings Harbor Community Helpers Food Bank to receive the remaining recommended ARP funds that they requested in their application for $128,000, that being the remainder of $68,000, so that they can continue to provide life-saving services. As the second largest food bank out of the 42 food banks in Coos and Curry counties that are under the Oregon Food Bank and South County Food Share, they currently have to store some of their food in storage containers in other locations and shuffle food around. Such is the need in Curry County. In recent years, they have expanded their services to include services that are not provided by other organizations or are not provided enough to fill the tremendous need in our community to fill gaps. In addition to providing snack packs for school-aged children during the pandemic and before, weekly fresh produce for senior citizens, monthly food boxes and supplemental food during the week paper products, baby clothes, work boots when needed, information and referral, assistance with attaining employment, attaining ID, getting medicine, and help with other survival needs. The Brookings Harbor Food Bank also provides COVID relief services such as COVID testing, health and medical supplies, and food, including hot meals for those quarantined. And these services are provided by highly experienced and qualified professionals, such as Pam Weinbarger and Olivia Davis. During this time of the pandemic, these services are absolutely essential to help people survive. The number of people served and the range and extent of these services is far greater than the original allocation could cover. Much more than food is being provided and thus needs to be funded with ARP funds. The Brookings Harbor Community Helpers Food Bank programs help people who reside in all parts of our county. For instance, when I was quarantined in Brookings after exposure to someone who had the COVID virus, I received testing, medical supplies, and food, including hot meals, from Olivia Davis, who had just gotten back to work after having had the COVID virus herself and was taking care of many folks in quarantine with COVID almost around the clock while still not feeling well herself. This type of expenditure of ARP funds is what our community needs the most to survive the effects of the pandemic and should therefore receive the highest prioritization with respect to the allocation of funds. Please allocate the remaining $68,000 today to the Brookings Harbor Food Bank in order to ensure the safety of our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. So the next up is, it's going to be a duet. It's going to be Pamela Weinbarger and Olivia Davis in tandem. So they both filled out a thing, so they get 6 minutes. And
thank you.
welcome, ladies.
You got that? So my name is Pamela Weinberger, and I'm the director of the Brookings Harbor Community Helpers.
And my name is Olivia Davis. I am the resource coordinator and the COVID-19 service coordinator for the Brookings Harbor Community Helpers. And thank you for this time to speak today.
We serve limited and low-income individuals and families in Curry County, and we stop at the Oregon border. Prior to the pandemic, our organization operated the only food bank in Brookings Harbor with a tiny office, 2 part-time workers, 1 in the office and 1 in the food bank. And on average, we would have up to about 40 visitors in the office. We served over 500 individuals and families each month, not including our youth snack pack program. But that all changed in March 2020. Over the last 2 years, we've worked additional hours to ensure we were meeting the needs of our community.
We even hired a bilingual interpreter and advocate to provide and bridge the language barrier to the Hispanic community and offer services to their families. This area increased by 22%. We thought, we don't need this, we're already reaching out. Well, we were wrong. With our Hispanic gal, she brought them forward to us.
We were encouraged by Oregon Health Authority to apply for the COVID grant to assist those affected by COVID-19 in our county, and was awarded the grant here in Southern Curry.
We became a CBO, which is a community-based organization, and partnered with the other CBOs in Central Curry County.
We hired Olivia as our resource coordinator, one of the best things we did, to help with the increased need in services and COVID-19 wraparound services, education, and direct client support.
Then our office became a hub of resources for individuals and families needing assistance in our community not related to food insecurities.
We filled in the gaps for services when businesses and service organizations were no longer seeing people in person.
The office traffic increased to over 400 clients coming in for food, non-related services, and resources each month.
And in January of 2022, we hired a part-time program assistant to help us with the increased service needs and increased office traffic.
Now in October 2022, we started a fresh food program for the seniors over 60 with limited income. So each week we provide each household with a bag of fresh fruit and fresh vegetables. We all know that costs of fruits and vegetables are high right now, so having this supplement to the seniors is awesome. It's been a great program. It now has transitioned into a mini farmers market to give these seniors choices at zero cost to better meet their needs of each household.
We serve an average of 300 families with boxes of food, 650 individuals veterans, seniors with daily food encounter boxes or bags of food, 400 youth snack packs, and over 200 seniors with our fresh fruits and vegetables each month.
But right now, we're working at capacity in both the Resource Center and the Food Bank Warehouse.
We operate 4 programs from our tiny building, totaling 625 square feet. And if there was ever an emergency, we'd be in trouble because you would not get a medical gurney in and out of that building very safely.
We have to walk sideways to get in.
Yes, you do.
We have also partnered with the local schools, ensuring that the students with food insecurities receive youth snack packs during the school year, and the summer program with Bob the Bus, which all the kids love. We distributed over 10,000 snack packs in 2021 for the youth.
In our food and staff ARP application, we did ask for $128,800 to help with the increased service need and staffing shortage due to the pandemic. And last month, we were thankful that we were granted $60,000. And we appreciate your of support. However, with inflation and gas prices increasing, emergency SNAP allotments ending, and the number of clients served increasing, we ask you to reconsider our full funding request.
We work under the guidance of the Oregon Food Bank and South Coast Food Share in Coos Bay. We are the second largest food bank in Coos and Curry County. According to the USDA income median for the Curry County from 2018, 35% of Curry County's population, including working families and individuals, live at or below the poverty level.
As the gaps or services continue to grow wider or diminish altogether, our organization will continue to serve alongside other community partners to assist limited income families, disabled individuals, veterans, seniors, and our youth program. We want to thank Commissioner Harzog for coming last week and touring our facility and observing our senior project. We invite Commissioner Pash, we invite Commissioner Boyce to visit our facility and meet our staff and volunteers and to observe us as we serve our community. We believe everyone we serve leaves knowing that they matter. Please reconsider and allocate the remaining $68,800 recommended by the ARP committee for the services we need to continue to provide the services we have right now. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ladies. That was a good duet. I got to admit that you guys were in perfect
you.
sync. Next time, maybe a song or something, too.
You don't want to hear me sing?
Okay. Skip, Hunter, and Connie, you guys want to come up together, or do you want to be separate? I think you guys like separated. You're definitely social distancing right now. Okay. Skip, you're up, bud.
Skip Hunter from Brookings. Thank you, Chair Herzog and Commissioners Pash and Boyce. I too am a kind to small animals. I just wanted to clear that up, that we're on the same side there. I am on a couple of organizations, a planning commissioner, and I'm on the ARP committee. And I want to be very clear that I'm not speaking for either one of those organizations. All I'm doing is speaking for myself. At the last meeting of the commissioners that I attended, it was mentioned that someone said that no one knows what goes on behind closed doors. And so that kind of opened up the door for me to shed some light on some of the issues and falsehoods and misstatements that have been made regarding the food bank in Brookings. And I just wanted to say that I'm available if you have any questions you'd like to hear from my perspective, but I'm not going to take up the time of this committee right now. All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Connie Hunter.
That's the chair that used to be in the corner right there. Squeaky.
I'm Connie Hunter, and I'm a proud citizen of Curry County. I wanted to mention that in some of the work that I've been doing for the Housing Committee, it came across my desk from more than one developer who was interested in a different number of different properties, and they asked me for something very simple, a water study. If we're coming here and planning on building here, is there enough water to sustain that? And I know that was a conversation that came before this board, and it didn't go forward at that time. But I want you to know that it's something that is being asked for now. And I have actually put some things together to start that process, just simply from the fact that, well, I had to go to Mayor Hedenskog and say, is the capacity up at US Borax going to make sense for building it out? How do we get there from here? And he gave me good answers. So that kind of information needs to be in one place at one time and accessible to our builders, developers, on the website. And also, we had talked about at our housing committee meeting about one other thing, and that had to do with getting other things on the website, including templates for AUDs. And just one final thing, we're going to be taking out a business license at the city of Brookings. Community conversations continued. We're going to do Facebook Live reports, and we'll be talking about things like nonprofits behaving badly. We'll be hopefully talking to our commissioners candidates and getting some truth out there. For example, over time, it's important to let people know that whistleblowers are us. Seriously, 2 VA whistleblowers, 1 here locally. SWAC, the issues with the Curry campus and that budget, whistleblowers are us. The food bank, there are issues there. I'm not asking you to deny them that grant. I'm not asking for Pam Weinbarger's head. Although, believe me, the part of me that's human sometimes said, you know what, that's not okay what happened. But watch them like a hawk, make sure that their grant tracking is in place, and that somebody outside of the organization is also looking at that grant and make sure that it's grant tracked correctly. If they don't have that structure in place at the food bank at this time for grant tracking, please make sure that they get that in there, because I think that's a shortcoming that could be addressed. The other part is we had the opportunity to participate in a VA focus group. They did a research study. We advocated for that clear back when we did our VA Healthcare Summit 2.0, and 2 of our commissioners were there. And we are actually changing the way that the VA is going to be able to do business with our veterans. They are going to let rural communities take over and participate in developing the programming and peer support. So that funding is probably going to come from the federal government and back up to the state. 5-year strategic plan specific to behavioral health that also came as an outcome our VA Healthcare Summit 2.0 when we requested that from the state. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Brett Cecil. All the way from North County, Port Orford.
I'm here to represent. Good morning, commissioners, all of you here in the room, all Currygonians out there that can hear me. I'm Brett Cecil from Port Orford and the chair of Curry County Democrats, as well as the declared Democrat candidate for state representative of 1st District, which includes all of Curry County. This morning, I watched the treasurer of a leader, Vladimir Zelensky, address our U.S. Congress while he was in the throes of a war in his own sovereign nation of Ukraine against the unhinged, disinformed leader of Russia. The press constantly informs us as to the situation there. Information, communication, action, leadership. We are, after 2 years, still fighting a war against COVID-19 on our own shores, an avoidable war. Information, communication, action. These are all good words and ideas, but we lack local leadership around the issue. This war will continue until our local leaders begin to lead from the front rather from the rear. Instead of looking backward, we must look forward, and in doing so, see our leaders at the head of the pack, giving clear instruction as to the direction in which we are moving. Short and to the point, since our last meeting here, we've incurred 37 additional reported COVID-19 cases and 1 additional death. Our last meeting was just 2 weeks ago. COVID-19 is still not dead in Curry County. In my last comments to this BOC, I applauded the fact that testing and vaccination information had been placed on the landing page of the county's website. Today, I sadly report that this information is no longer displayed in this crucial location. This is the lead position on the most visible communication sign available to Currygonians, essentially the front page of the county's own New York Times. It is within the power of this BOC to add, alongside the persistent buttons to click for Travel Curry Coast, Agendas and Minutes, Code Enforcement, Pay Taxes Online, Curry County Civic TV, and Adopted Strategic Plan, an equivalent button that will directly connect citizens with the information available to county leadership, information that will empower citizens to make informed decisions about their own choices. Again, information, communication, action, leadership from the front. Today, Mr. Pash will be presenting information on item 6G, Affordable Curry Housing Project. To further discuss the current housing project here in Curry County and additional funding for it. I again attempted to obtain information around this subject. Still, there are no signs within county administration that anything near shovel-ready is on the books. To be clear, where I come from, shovel-ready means financing secured, planning approval, and permits applied for and approved, which in turn makes the project public knowledge. Shovels cannot dig until these things are in place, correct? That said, shovel-ready, they are not. I am all public ears with regard to this subject, only I see lots of smoke, hidden fire. ARP monies that could be applied to public safety and support now, today, such as providing harm reduction services, sheltering and feeding our most vulnerable and needy, are being committed to conceptual projects which are invisible to the eye of the public, and at best will come online months, if not years down the line. I repeat the latest communique from the planning department regarding projects to which $250,000 of American Rescue Plan monies have been committed by this BOC. The three projects referred to by Commissioner Pash at the BOC meetings are all, I did not put quotes on this, quote, real projects. Two of the three projects have significant involvement from private parties. These entities have desired to keep their information confidential for now, so the county is not at liberty to disclose information about them. Junkyard dogs continue barking until threats are abated. So I do want to thank you, though, especially Commissioner Herzog, that I had an opportunity to speak with Patricia Brown last night at the Port Orford Common Good Food Bank Pantry. And they send their thanks for the $10,000 of ARP money that was gotten to them during the past couple of weeks. I applaud you for that work, and I ask you to continue doing more in the future. We have other food banks that could use our help. Thank you, sirs.
All right.
Mr. Cecil, would you write your email down for me, please? Absolutely. It wouldn't come up, I'm surprised. No hurry at all.
So Kirk, you're next. Does somebody want to go out and hold Kirk's cat? Whoever is a cat person. Okay.
I'm Kirk Nelson. That's Oreo, by the way. So I heard today that you guys were voting on allowing safe injection sites, and I believe you guys remember me coming here and speaking before about the harm reduction, and I think that the voting no on the safe injections, it's kind of just opening a doorway to be able to be easier to say no to any other harm reduction techniques, and I don't think that should be allowed. I obviously I don't prepare things when I talk, so I kind of just come here and shoot from the hip. But would a safe injection site for addicts is basically just, it's a bar for alcoholics. It's a place where people can go in public and use their method of intoxication. And it's the same thing for like smoking weed. There's no place that people can go do that. But yet you can go to a bar, get drunk, and you can go drive home, get a DUI, whatever, and that's perfectly fine with everyone. But you guys don't want to allow us a place for people who don't have anywhere else to go and use their vice. And not only that, but these safe injection sites are going to allow those people that don't have anywhere to go, they can come there and they can find the other resources that they need to get help if they so choose, or to be safe. And that's very important. That's the number one place where people can go to find those resources to get help. So I think very strongly you guys should not vote against that. You should be allowing these sites and these other harm reduction places to come forward. They should be around. I spoke very, very strongly against or for it last time, and I'm still in the same spot, that there should always be progress moving forward to help these people. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up is approval of the consent agenda as amended. Look for a motion.
So moved, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as amended. All in favor say yes.
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 Motion carries 3-0. Discussion action items, transient lodging, tax collection of Curry County parks. We all have a, Summer put a TLT revenue from county parks flyer on our desk, so
Thank you for getting to that thermostat there.
yeah.
Good morning, Commissioners. Summer Madison, Economic Development. Yeah, what I did is I pulled some data to bring you, not my opinion, but the facts that support the conversation that we're having right now. In September of 2019, the voters passed support for the TLT collection through lodging, and that's gone really well, as you've seen. What's not happened is the collection of that tax through our own county parks. And I've brought that to the board a few times now. This will be the last time that I bring it to the board, because I don't think you need anything other than the facts that I've presented here. So I do have it uploaded on the laptop. So you can pull that up. If not, you have copies. But basically, when I broke the numbers down here for you in this spreadsheet, you'll show there's a lost revenue from not collecting from the county parks of over $37,000 since the inception of the program. That's a loss to the general fund, because if you take a look at how TLT funds law enforcement for protection services in the county, the more we're having to pull from the general fund for law enforcement, you know, the more strain there is on the road department. And so I want you to take this into consideration. You might be asking yourself too, why we're not collecting this tax from the parks. And there's just been a succession of lack of accountability and to see some things through. And that needs to be decided right here. In my opinion, if you don't want to collect the TLT from the parks, then you need to amend the order 2002. If you do want to collect, then we need to see that through, and somebody needs to take responsibility for doing that. I have copies, and I extracted just a couple of the highlights from Ordinance 2002, Exhibit A, Article 8, Division 2. Here for you, the definitions of what constitutes TLT lodging establishment, which the parks clearly falls into that category. Also, on the following page, you will see exclusions and exemptions for facilities not having to collect TLT, which the county parks does not fall into. The other thing I want to bring to your attention is that there is an administrative compensation for the collection every 3 months. It takes about 10 minutes, if you know what you're doing, to complete the form and submit that to the county. There is a 5% convenience fee that goes back to the collector, which you'll see the numbers there as well. Whoever would have been responsible for collecting that has missed almost $2,000 in compensation for that service. My biggest concern is that we are holding lodging establishments in the county legally responsible to report and submit TLT funds or taxes that they've collected from their guests, and they have been very good about that. The county has not. You know, I don't think that the county parks should be excluded from the collection, because that might set the precedence that we might be setting ourselves up for, hey, come stay at the county parks because you don't have to pay that tax we impose on everybody else but ourselves. When you look at the state TLT model, the state parks are not excluded from collecting the state TLTs. And so
Would you mind saying that last part again, please?
the state parks are not excluded from collecting and paying in the state TLTs. State parks pays into our TLTs. So at what point the county thinks it's not responsible for that, but everybody else needs to be, that just doesn't send a good message. In our department has offered, you know, I've done the groundwork with Penny, and all it takes is a simple switch on the reservation system for the parks, and then the tax is there in the process, and it's not a cumbersome process. So I just think you guys need to see that through. I'm sorry, I know that this is like heavy information, you know,
that heavy
compared to what's been brought so far this morning. And I also, just kind of on a separate note, if we're talking about funding food banks, Orca's refrigerated food truck is down, and they're trying to raise $300,000 to replace that truck. And that truck serves not just Pistol South, it serves the entire county, and then some. So was waiting for a letter showing support from the other cities to bring to you, to encourage you to consider a donation from ARP to fund that truck. I can bring that back, but if you want to consider $10,000 as part of the ARP funds to go towards that truck, I think that'd be great. I know it's not on the agenda, but I'm just going to throw it out there. Also, I'm going to throw this out there. The Candle Building's for sale, $300,000.
Oh,
Excuse me. Great place for retail down below and a little bit of workforce housing upstairs, but somebody would have to run with that and see that through. I think you're seeing a lot of the balls dropped administratively in the county, and I think we need to have a conversation about what that looks like and making sure that there's some responsibility in seeing some things through. I think if we're not looking to fund water resources in the county, but we are going to fund, I know I'll lose friends in this, but that's fine. If we're going to look to fund a feasibility study for underground power, but we have to postpone a conversation about water countywide for months and months, we need to stop falling to the pressure of people that are coming to the pulpit and pushing for decisions. I think decisions need to be made more thoughtfully, and you need to weigh the pros and cons of everything brought to you, and ask for the citizens to participate in that conversation. There are a lot of, you're commissioners and you want to serve your community. You have the natural inclination to say yes, but that does come with some consequences. One last thing, because my 10 minutes is about up. Releasing the agenda Monday evening really makes it difficult for the rest of the department heads that need to schedule their presentations around where they fall on the agenda. Not only that, but as a city councilor for the city, I know when to expect that agenda, and I know that I've got time allocated to review that agenda and the meeting packet well before the meeting, so I come prepared. I don't know that releasing the agenda and the packet that late prior to the meeting is going to help the commission overall, let alone anybody else prepare to have a conversation about anything that's on there, including water. I think maybe if that conversation had been made available to the commissioners and the public a little earlier, maybe we wouldn't be postponing that. And I'm not for or against the AOC project, I'm just using it as an example, okay? That's all I've got, commissioners. I'm leaving early today, so that's why I'm super casual.
Question?
Yes, sir.
So when you go to city council,
Yep.
it's like clockwork. You know, it's going to be there before such and such time, and that's the way it's been here for years, and you can count on that. I've made my point on that, and I of course, totally agree with you. Thank you.
Chris?
I make a motion that we add all county parks to the TLT revenue. As all of our local businesses pay TLT in, I believe that parks should be equally held responsible, as do the state parks. So I make that motion that we include TLT fees to all of our county parks.
Question?
Question?
Can I get a
Second? Second, and then go ahead. Question, go ahead.
You seconded?
Yeah.
Good, thank you. That has nothing to do with your executive session.
No, sir.
Thank you. That's all I have.
And so I don't even know if this is needs to come, because we already, I mean, in the packet, it shows that it's already been done.
It has, and so that's why I didn't provide an order nor ask that
Right.
anything be filed with the clerk, because that was done back in 2019. But a reaffirmation of that commitment to collect from parks, I don't think is such a bad thing.
So, go ahead, Chris. Or I'm just going to say, so I think all we have to do is be in agreement. I don't think there needs to be another motion and a second to, even though there is, to approve this. It's already been, there's an order. So I think the main thing is to, you know, Chris is in favor of it, is the discussion action item. Discussion is, I don't know why it was not ever implemented, but do we want it implemented? And if
Could we just change the motion to that of support?
Yeah. I mean, just I guess it doesn't hurt to have a motion in a second and pass this through, but it's a done deal. It sounds like it just never, the button never got
I'll
pushed.
amend my motion to be that we are reaffirming and supporting that parks will
Moving
contribute
forward.
to TLT revenues for the county moving forward.
You get to second your amendment?
Second the amendment. All in favor, say yes.
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 Motion carries 3-0.
Thank
Have
you
one
for
question?
Yes, sir.
Just when you can, maybe off through email, just give me some more information on the Orca truck. I'm just a little fuzzy on that, but I think that's a good recommendation to at least consider. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Quickly, there are some orders historically when it comes to changing the process for releasing the agenda to the public. You might want to pull some orders that exist historically and maybe consider amending or doing something different with those. Like, you can't just come in and say, we're going to change this. Like, you've got to go back and catch up what you've been, you know, what's on order and on file with the clerk. Okay, thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
All righty. Discussion action item 6B, designating 34 acre parcel of county forest. Becky Crockett, Planning Director. Welcome, Becky.
Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me. This shouldn't be a heavy item, I don't think. Essentially, the county received 34 acres from state parks in December 2020, and that was a result of a land swap with state parks on property near Flores Lake. The timber on this piece of property, this 34 acres that's located across the road from Pacific High School, has been the subject of significant theft and destruction over the last few years, and then prior to that, several years while state parks owned that piece of property. Coos County has agreed to help us manage the timber on that piece of property via a fast agreement called the Moore Agreement, which means I'm just waiting for a task order for them to bring forward to the commissioners to proceed forward with management of that timber. But first, state statute requires us to actually designate the property as a part of the county forest. So you may remember that the county actually designated a state forest in 1967 in Curry County, and this order just adds this additional 34 acres to what is considered our county forest, so we can proceed with management of the timber.
Okay. Chris?
Just one quick question on that. Does that change anything on the status for any future housing or anything on that property?
Not at all.
Okay.
So no zoning changes either. We're good. Great work.
So I entertain a motion.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the request to turn that to county forest.
Designated as
Designated.
county forest.
Designated county forest. Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor say yes.
This is so cool.
Thank you.
Motion
Yes.
carries 3-0.
Thanks.
Thanks, Becky.
We can
C-
squeeze one, next one in and then do break, or?
Oh, yeah, because, this should just be a real quick one. C is request for the board approval to spend road budget funds up to $3,500 in labor, materials, and equipment for Agnes Medal of Honor kiosk for Mr. Edgerton. Rich Christensen is not here today, so if we could, Chris, would you, if you want to, we can just approve this or a motion or?
This is something that started a couple of years ago, actually, and we thought we were going to be able to get this put in a year ago. And I know at first I kind of took it, and then Commissioner Boyce took it. But what Rich figured out is we need to do some work up there before we can plant this, so that it lasts for a long time and everyone that goes into Agnes can enjoy it. So that's why I believe he asked for the $3,500, is that that's his estimate for labor and materials to fix an area that this will be planted in. So.
A nice kiosk.
It's going to be somewhere near the Agnes Post Office.
Yep.
Not near the Heidelberg tree.
No. No, there's probably
but
too many roots there.
It's really, it has been delayed to kind of get this off the ground for a variety of reasons. But, East Agnes gets most of the attention. And so putting it in Old Agnes, where the old store is, up above Lucas Lodge, there's some home sites in there. And so I think Roadmaster Christensen will come up with a good place in conjunction and with the input of the postmaster there. So pretty excited about this.
Well, and the road department has just acquired a man that has this kind of talents in Tad to build that. So
I just have one question. I've heard road budget funds and ARP money. So which are we going to leave it out of the road fund reserves? Okay.
That's what the
order says. I don't know if it would fall under ARP funds. So
I'll make a motion to approve this.
Okay, got a motion.
Second, Mr.
Got
Chair.
a second. All in favor say yes.
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 Motion carries 3-0. It's 10 o'clock on the nose. Let's take a 15-minute break, and we'll be back here at 10:15. And then at 11 o'clock, you don't want to miss. We got a public hearing with Luke Pike from CTR, and this man knows garbage. So we'll see you in 15 minutes. Thanks. Okay, welcome back, and we're at 6D, Curry County American Rescue Plan Funding Association of Oregon County's water needs. We're going to look at a January 5th, 2022. Okay, go ahead.
just so the citizens know, we're trying to work with Association of Oregon Counties on a plan, a water forum. I've heard from many commissioners around the state that are either behind or started on this several years ago. And basically the concept is the sooner you can get a plan going for each individual county, the better position that you are in for looking for additional funding at the state, but especially the federal level. And as everyone knows, most everyone knows, the harbor water, especially with this low amount of rain and snowpack that we've had this year, that they're going to be subjected to a lot of salt water, and they need help. Port Orford needs help. Langlis, we were able to give $10,000 for their water utility. And so we had a presentation, but we don't have a plan. So that's what the basis for this agenda item is today. I submitted this, essentially the same thing, to the board. And I don't know, whatever it was 2 months ago, whatever the date is on here, January 5th, so a little over 2 months. And AOC comes in and they have some highly qualified people. They come highly recommended from counties that have used their services. I've tried to communicate that to this board and just challenge them that this is, I'm going to say again, it is 1% of the first year of the American Rescue Plan funding. We're working, all of us are working hard on housing development. We had 2 people offer comment today, Connie Hunter from Brookings and Summer Madison, Gould City Council and Economic Development Coordinator. Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to paraphrase here. Basically, they're saying what is more important than water. So the reason I brought it back again within a 2-month period is because we're losing time. This is a very complex process. If you're familiar with the Oregon Water Resources and the Oregon Department of Agriculture, they are very large, complex state agencies, and they move very slow. And so if we are able to offer them a plan, and it would probably take 2 full years to get this done, then we'll get better attention for the projects, our citizens, and again, the plan. And it would be, AOC would be holding forums around Curry County, town halls, essentially. And I've been working on this a couple years. I just can't see anything other than firefighting right now, more important other than firefighting and housing. So I hope.
We have overcome most of our issues today, so we'll check your volume here real quick. Welcome again.
Nobody can hear that, right?
Thank you, Commissioner, and hello, Commissioners. My name is Andy Smith from AOC. Thank you for having me here today. And I'm just looking at my screen. I'm not sure if Harmony Parade is with us yet.
Would you turn your volume down?
Could you turn your mic down just a little bit? We've got it from our end.
Can we turn it up a little bit? Oh, we are at 100.
I will try to do that, and I will. I'll try
And we need some fine tuning, all right?
Stand by just a moment, Andy.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
Andy is a former veterans rep for Association of Oregon Counties and just a very dedicated public servant. But he's been switched over to water in the interest of priorities.
On another test. How do you read me now? Yeah, I'm going to go down just a little bit more. Stand by, please. I think we're getting there. So would you like to wait for Harmony? Well, what I'd like to do, Commissioners, to make sure that we're using your time well, I can start. I'm going to text Harmony to make sure she should have everything she needs. So I'm going to send her the code that works for me to get into the meeting, and then I can start. Still working with the volume just a little bit. Testing. 10, 9, 8. How about now? Better, much better. Thank you. I'm going to lead off from my board here just a little bit. You know, you came onto the scene of water planning and sorry if we were not Commissioner.
No, the sound is fine now, so.
all is well. Your audio is very good. And
either way, it's fine, Commissioners, but I'm just checking. Can you see Harmony and I, or are we just with you via audio?
We can see you.
Okay. Because I can see Harmony on my end. I see her picture, so I know her video is working for me. Water, it could be housing, but really those discussions should start at the local level, and then they should kind of meet at some point to we're partners with the state. But we certainly are cautious of efforts of the state, maybe with the best intentions, but when they try to do a bigger kind of an approach that is really quite a broad brush, or really is not linking you as community, as elected leaders and as community members into that process, we think at County Solutions it's my job to help you seize opportunities to jump into that work so you in fact can be helping kind of drive the discussion on the front lines. So with regard to water, I'm going to give you a little bit of context what some other counties have done, and then I do want to go over a handout with you. I put some you can read. One is related to ARPA, and some of the dollars that the federal government is that I'm sure you're tracking very closely. But in a moment, I'm going to walk you through this document. It's called Community Water Needs Forms. Very briefly before introducing Harmony. So to share the other counties that are jumping into this water work, we're very pleased that 3 coastal counties are really right at the tip of our effort right now. Harmony came aboard in November, and she's a contractor for us, and she's helping 3 counties design, process, and tailored kind of approaches to something we're, again, called Water Needs Forms. The first cohort of counties, Commissioner Boyce alluded to, there's a group that's now until late spring, May, would culminate them, and they're actually have started, but we have room for probably 1 or 2 more counties would be kind of ideal, I think, in this first wave, and then the second half of the year we will have another.
Unfortunately, we've missed that opportunity now because we lost the last 2 months.
Another cohort that some counties would join, but we do think there's room now, and we're really kind of excited because Harmony is going to tell you about how she approaches this work, which is to me very, really amazing in terms of its community orientation. But let me walk you through the document, the one that says Why Water. I'm not going to read this to you, but I am going to kind of remind you that when we're in the middle of the rainy season, as I look out my window, I live in the valley here on the coast, we kind of have this amnesia that we forget in about 8 months it's going to be dry. And so it's not always about what falls out of the sky, but there are all kinds of issues related to water. Largely it can be seasonal issues, but beyond that, there are cost issues, affordability, long-term planning, infrastructure, that we know that Oregon in many ways we're just behind in terms of our planning. So what's the role of counties in all of this? You as county commissioners and the county entity in terms of planning with regard to local public facility plans and comprehensive plans, they're really fundamental that water are part of those plans going forward. And as you know, our land use system is really about, the model is about 50 years old. And in some respect, one of the things that we haven't had is capacity for you to do planning, to kind of look ahead. So we do think this arrangement with Harmony is really efficient in terms of how you could start to put your arms around this water issue and do it now. Because part of one of the opportunities we have with the Oregon legislature is relationships with a number of legislators that are very, I think, understanding of the local county perspective as it relates to water and other issues. One is a former county commissioner who's now a legislator. The other that leads the water committee on the House side is a member of the other party. So we have a bipartisan kind of approach. We have an urban-rural kind of a teamwork, and I think just a deep respect for local work. So we really, and they're going to be working next session in 2023 to really take another step forward in terms of water investments and planning. That will include new federal dollars, kind of a plan for how to integrate those resources into the planning. But again, this is planning not for a year or 2, but really for a decade and more related to water. Okay, so just the last few things about these forms. They it would consist of county commissioners, it could be all three of you, convening, could be a subset, convening in a neutral way your community to begin to talk about water, but not in a way where you're making decisions about water. You're really just listening about water needs. So all of your community members would be part of this process. There'd be a kickoff forum pretty quickly here in the next, probably the next 45 or 60 days. And then Harmony has designed some really interesting process that happens over a couple months. And then there's a concluding forum probably in May or June, which is really this learning session. Again, these forums are not about kind of solving water problems. They're the initial foundational work where you can engage and listen to your community, and we as staff would help you document these needs. We wouldn't say these are good or bad, anything like that. We would basically try to work on mutual education and trust around water. And then we'd be ready to work with Representative Mark Owens and Representative Kim Helm, Representative Reardon. There are three leaders in water, and they're working at kind of a regional level around water, and they want to meet us. We do our local work. They want our local work to feed into theirs. So that would happen over the next year in terms of what they're working on. And then when we get to 2023, we hope that Curry County and other counties that would invest in this would be in a position to kind of receive additional state investments for water in terms of planning and needs, just because you're getting prepared and you're doing your homework, and I just think it's a fundamental first step, these forms. So with that, Harmony, I'm going to kick it over to you, and commissioners, I want to make sure we have a lot of time for questions, so I went on a little bit there. Harmony's going to talk a little bit about her background, a little bit about how these needs forms are different. You know, what I forgot to do, commissioners, is it's Tillamook, Clatsop, and Tillamook, Clatsop, and Columbia are the three counties that are jumping into this process right now. A number of other counties have worked on water already, so they've done something called place-based planning in Union County, in Gillum County, in Lincoln County, and in Harney. So those counties are kind of off and running, but we want to continue to support them too in their next phase. And then we have a lot of other counties that we think will be coming aboard as well. So with that, Harmony, jump in, and then commissioners, we will stop talking in a little bit, and we'll just open the floor. But Harmony, if you go ahead.
Can I interrupt for just 1 second? I wanted to give you just a little bit of warning. We are proud to have a high school senior class here, our best high school in Curry County, by the way. Should I get a sec? Yeah. So there's about 18. This area. Sorry you can't see us, but the audio's been great. The presentation very nice. You know, the Native Americans said that water is the first medicine. You see the people that are trapped on the freeway in Virginia for 24 hours, no water. You know, Ms. Burright just mentioned that everybody is a stakeholder, and the needs, as we mentioned, are growing, and just that demand. I just said during break, Andy, I got to see a picture of a little lad about 10 years old.
They are homegrown and not necessarily, you know, can partner with the state, but aren't dependent upon the state exclusively.
So, all right. So,
any other questions?
What are some of the other counties doing to put together their, you know, I don't know if it's an ad hoc committee, task force, you know, water needs committee? How do you pull all those stakeholders together? What have you seen? This question is to either one of you. That has been some of the other counties, especially rural county successes towards that objective, those goals. And that's where you.
Because Harmony and I were just we're in the middle of building relationships with the conveners in each of these counties, who are county commissioners. So one of the things we started out the gate, commissioners, we just kind of listened. This was about a month ago. We actually got out in the field and spent a pretty big chunk of afternoons with commissioners from 3 different counties, and just kind of tried to learn and listen to them about the current water world and kind of all of the voices and the interests. And we started to kind of map things, but and then just yesterday we're digging into some actual system design process economic, the ag world, the environmental community? How do we get all of those pieces into this process? Could you talk about that a little bit, how we envision that?
So that's my background in training is in public participation and also in collaborative decision making and community building. And so we're starting to think through like all of the different interest areas and how can we start to bring forward people that we consider to be community builders in those different areas. So maybe in your fishing community, who is a community builder, in the farming community, who has the ability to bring people together, in the environmental kind of conservation community, identifying those folks that have the ability to draw, to build trust with others, to draw others into the conversation and create an environment where others feel comfortable sharing. And so it's building that really strong kind of network of community builders and then building out from there, having them then reach out and invite others. I kind of equated it to a snowball approach. We start with a strong core and kind of build out from there. The idea being that trust is going to be the nucleus of any long-term successful effort, and you have to be really deliberate about building trust, and that's going to happen through strong relationships where they already exist, kind of building out from there. And then it's also identifying the many ways in which people may or may not be able to engage in the effort. If our desire is to have as many people participate as possible, in-person or virtual meetings might not be the only or best way. And so thinking about supplemental ways to get input and feedback. Maybe that's through one-on-one conversations, through small group discussions, surveys, doing just kind of simple internet searches. There's a lot of different ways to gather the information. But ultimately, if you're to be successful over the long run, you really need to have a cohesive, coherent group of people that gel, who then are receiving, create the environment to receive all this diverse input, and then maybe have some of the kind of wherewithal to be able to start taking action on it.
Very good, very good. Thank you. So,
Do you want to keep going, or are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
So, any questions?
I brought up the
The agenda routing slip?
agenda routing slip from January 5th. Investment and services provided. 3 specific water needs forums will be held within each participating county. Specific training for commissioners to serve as conveners or co-conveners for water forums. The water forums will not conflict, supersede, or interfere with any of the multi-year place-based water pilot planning processes currently underway in the Harney, Union, other counties, AOC. So they definitely provide some some direction.
I'm going to try and avoid, if I may, Mr. Chair, avoid repeating myself, but I'm pretty passionate about this. Representative Helm is very close to Representative Brock Smith. I met him 2 or 3 times, testified before one of his committees before. I served with Mark Owens, Harney County, when he was a commissioner on the AOC Natural Resources Committee. Really sharp guy. And so he, Craig Pope from Polk County, P-O-L-K, and then David Yamamoto from Tillamook County. I mean, Tillamook County right now is almost identical size as Curry County, and they are 2 years ahead of us on this. Another aspect that I'd like the citizens to know is that when we have illegal marijuana grows, this gives us some more authority to challenge with the contamination that they do to our water systems. We're going to be able to get, because we have a plan, because we have AOC involved, if we vote affirmative on this, then that's real. I don't think it can be overstated, the benefits that can come to our county, but it is a very complex, long-term process. So, unless you have questions, I'm ready to make a motion on I thought about putting this on the workshop with the ARP plan that we had for later this afternoon, but I just don't want to lose any more time. We're not meeting again for 3 weeks. That's why I've asked this board to seriously consider squeezing in a vote here. You've had a lot of, I don't know, is there anybody else in the public might want to comment? Because this is such an important issue.
Chris had a question?
Well, I'd like to ask, in that video there back in January, he said that there were 3 other counties that were on board with this, and some other counties that had already started a water process of their own that they would support. My question is, since January, have they gotten any other counties on board, more than the 3 that he talked about?
Clatsop, Columbia, and Tillamook, they're working very close together through AOC. Most counties, especially our size, do not have the manpower. And so who's going to take that lead?
So what I'm wondering is, have they got more counties? I mean, you're talking about 38, what are the 38 counties in Oregon?
Well, I can't answer that. It's a good question. But what I can say, there was a scramble to get those last 2 spots that were available for the spring, the spring collection of counties that were going to be able to collectively go to the legislature. And you heard him mention the 2023. I can't stress how important that is. If you go to them with the Water Resources Department, Department of Ag, a couple other minor compared to those 2 organizations, you go to them with a plan, and there's just some really good work you can get done.
So I think, Chris, I see Harney, Union, Lincoln, North Central counties.
Right. That's the only 3. What I'm saying is 38 counties. They presented this to all the counties.
36.
Or 36, but only 3 have joined. So that's...
Well, that was 2 months ago. I'll get that information for you if you're concerned that other counties aren't getting on board.
My only other issue with this is, with some of the legislation that's trying to be pushed through on the state on even surface water, that the state is demanding that they own that. There's a lot of issues that we could be working on and putting money to better use. That's just my thought.
Well, if I may, that's the Oregon Water Resources that come up with their 100-year water plan, and it should scare anybody, the control that they're trying to get. And if you don't have a plan, you're not going to have any leverage to go toe-to-toe with them. The reverse of that is they end up going to the legislature for you. So.
Well, yeah, because I've heard that they want, even the water that comes off of my roof is not my water.
Yep.
And I disagree.
So are we organized or big enough to resist that control in our most small counties? And do we want to just? Those are good points. Those are very good points. So,
I'm sorry.
Got to get people in the legislature that understand the common person that hears that. I can't have my rainwater. Their heads spin, of course.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you for the time, Mr. Chair.
Another question, Chris?
Well, I'm just wondering if we could get an outline of what these other counties already have in place that AOC is going to support. What their direction and outline is that they chose. It might be more viable for us to do their program versus the AOC program. I don't know. Again, how much do we really have in final facts on this? So, should we wait on this to see if 5 other counties have joined since January, or should we look at the other counties that they even admit have their own water system programs in place that they're going to support, was his words, before we vote on this?
So Mr. Cecil said, I thought it was very good, leading from behind. That's a common term that's used, probably overused a little bit, but in this case, we want to wait and see what the other counties are doing. That's what we do here. And it's just terribly frustrating because it's all right in front of us with the entire program, and we're going to delay this another 3 weeks, or maybe we'll just vote it down. I'm not bringing it back. One of you can deal with it because I've done a lot of groundwork for you, and if we vote this down, it will hurt our citizens. Bottom line.
I'm not about voting it down, but I definitely would like to have these same folks at another meeting, first of
I'm not going to ask them to come.
April.
Forgive me for interrupting. I'm not going to ask them to come back here and dance around. I mean, they've got other counties that want their services. Simple.
And they want ours too, and I don't think they...
No, they want to help. We're a drop in a bucket compared to their responsibilities, but they fight for rural counties, smaller counties all the time. There's no big payoff for them here.
You don't think they would come back?
They would if I ask them, but I don't want to ask them just so they have to repeat what you just heard again. You know, so...
I can ask them. I think that's the census of the board is...
So I'm going to make a motion, Mr. Chair, that we appropriate $25,000 to connect with Association of Oregon Counties for a water planning, water forum program that starts immediately. And water needs, water planning. No second. Major defeat for the citizens of this county.
Well, it's not a defeat yet, because we're not done with it yet.
Well, I didn't get a second, so we probably should move on. All due respect, Mr. Chair.
We will move on with this agenda, but you know, if you don't want to get a hold of them, I will and say, hey, can you come back for April meeting and
Or at least give us an update on how many counties, if
Yeah,
there's somebody else joined, and how that's going.
yes, public can make a comment.
Yes, David Barnes. Curry County, every district in Curry County has their own water district. Langlois has water, Port Orford, Gold Beach. This is the second time this has come up, but I haven't seen any comments from any of them. We also have watershed associations in this county, and I haven't seen comments from any of them. Before we go through with this and before you vote on this, perhaps it would be wise to bring in these long-standing organizations in this county and ask them if they would see any benefit to something like this. This isn't a one-year program. As you read in the January 5th filing on this, this is a yearly commitment. This is $25,000 a year for who knows how many years this could go on. So, you know, as Commissioner Boyce said, he's looking at its minimum of 2-year plan here. So this isn't a $25,000 investment. This is a $50,000 investment to start with, just for the first 2 years. Before you make that kind of commitment, I'd really like you to bring in, for a workshop, bring in the people from all the water districts, from the watershed associations, and talk to them. You know, bring in agricultural people, talk to them. See if they think this would be a worthwhile investment of county money.
That's what AOC does. They get in touch with all the watersheds and everybody that's involved, all the utilities, all the agriculture, the environment, people interested in rivers. They pull everybody together.
And it costs us money for them to do it. It's something that we could do on our own.
Who's going to take that lead?
Excuse me?
Who's going to take that lead? In this board, who's going to do that?
All it is asking people to come together. It's scheduling a workshop, you know, bringing the people together, you know, asking if they want to participate, you know, asking if it's if they think it's a good idea.
So it dies for lack of a second.
Dies for lack of a second. But it's not over. Any other public would like to make a comment? No. Hearing, Connie?
Connie Hunter, a proud citizen of Curry County and chair of the Curry Housing Committee. From a standpoint of a developer, not having the knowledge or a plan to refer to is a step in the wrong direction for a couple reasons. If it's not there, then a lot of questions get fielded to the planning department, get fielded to the city of Brookings, get fielded to people like me. Since my name has been on the website for the Housing Committee Chair, I frequently get email inquiries or phone calls because people can look up my phone number. So my point is this: if we take the time to have a housing study to give good information to our builders, developers, and we give good information about where they can go and get their building permits and things like that. The other piece of the puzzle that's being asked for is we're thinking about coming here and building affordable workforce housing. And we want to make sure there's enough water, and we want to make sure that there's a plan for emergency management under the conditions of wildfires. And without that posted information, that information being pulled together in one spot, it becomes now a labor-intensive thing for everybody. And so the whole system gets overworked just because that information isn't in one place. And that was one of the features that we tried to put together for our housing committee, was a repository of good information for our committee members. But we need a repository of good information for our developers. Not only an inventory of where buildable land is, not only the ADU plans that are available, that are free plans that are developed. That's one of the things that at the Regional Housing Committee, the Regional Housing Summit that they just had, I reached out to different leaders in the community and said, I'm going to this housing summit. What can I bring to the table? What would you have me bring to the table? Gary Millman gave me a list and a link where we could go and get all of the ADU plans. So if we have what we call a recruitment package for recruiting developers and people that want to build in the area, that's the kind of information you have in those recruitment packages. If we don't get our recruitment act together, and that includes on behalf of volunteers, that includes on behalf of bringing resources to this county and having the right things in place, so when people are asking and wanting to do something, that they don't have to pull it all together and it doesn't look like we're not organized. And without that plan and those things being put together in a recruitment package on our website, we're not doing our piece of the puzzle. $60,000 was just spent on the website for US Borax by US Borax. They're doing their part. So what can we do as a county on our part is give the good information as much as we can and really keep recruitment in mind. Thank you.
So real quick, you said earlier you met with Ron Hedenskog, Mayor of Brookings, about waters and borax, and he said...
What I did was, when the housing committee first started, I wanted to know, of course, gave ourselves an assignment to find out where the buildable land is, and so I had been following what's happening at US Borax for years. This is not new news to have a conversation with Mayor Hedenskog. But I did have a conversation over a lot of things, and one specific topic that we did talk about was that. I took notes, and when it came time that I had a developer inquire of me, well, what's going on with the water up there? I go on and get a city council meeting where City Councilor Dennis Triglia is saying there's not enough water, and that's out there. So we have to dispel that myth. So I went to Mayor Ron again. I said, I have my notes, but the one thing I didn't do as soon as I was done taking my notes is put them right into the computer, and I just want to verify these things. So we got on the phone. He verified those things, and I have provided that information, I think even to Commissioner Boyce, about how many square cubic foot per second water runs, and that's not my forte. Math I'm pretty good at, but you get into that development side of things, I needed a developer to ask me the right questions for me to know to gather those answers, and him to say, well, why isn't it there already? And then hearing those kinds of things from other developers is hard.
Connie, just the quick question was, did Ron say there's plenty of water for borax property and development?
Oh, yes, three times as much, more than that. And I'll send that information because it really does factor out. But what came from that is we do need to convene those water districts and make them work together.
All right, thank you.
So, Mr.
I know
Chair.
I'm verbose, thank you.
Excuse me if I may. So, Eric, if you could plug into the screen here. This is what we spent so far of the 2.26
Have we moved on to
First
the next agenda item?
Well, this is connected, okay? Thank you. We set up $250,000 for housing. Okay, that's an arbitrary figure. We don't know. It's a moving target, which we agreed was fine. We take 25 out of that. I mean, that's just 10% of that for this plan. Or, you know, I mean, the citizens, if you want to know where the money's going, write me and I'll make sure you get informed. As Summer Madison said earlier, we have been a little bit reactive. That's why I brought the workshop today. You know, $100,000 for employee quarantines. We've spent well over $800,000 for dispatch, which we all supported. So it's just really hard for me to square why we wouldn't spend $25,000 for water, and we would delay this even a minimum of another 3 weeks. So that's what I got. I might bring this up again later, Mr.
George,
Chair.
you had your hand up?
Yes, Commissioner, thank you. George Rhodes, Brookings, Oregon. Seems the board needs more information regarding this proposal that Commissioner Boyce has put forward. And I agree there's a lot of gray area here. So what I would do is I'll volunteer to get you that information within the next week regarding exactly the services that AOC will provide for the county and how much water is available. We heard from Connie that Brookings says there's a lot of water. I haven't seen that report. I don't know where it came from. And I've also heard they have a lot of other things at the city of Brookings, but there again, I've not seen any of that verified. So I think for the board to have verification of the resources is critical, and that's exactly what the water plan would do. And so if the board is so inclined, I will volunteer to get that information and present it to the board at a workshop, hopefully sooner than 3 weeks.
Sure.
Okay.
If we're in agreement?
Absolutely. Unless you want to identify some of the gray areas now, not a big deal, but.
Well, you know, I think the questions that are being asked would indicate that there's not a clear vision of what needs to be looked at and what would be accomplished through the AOC, the expenditure of the $25,000. You know, we've heard 25,000, we've heard 50,000, we've heard a lot of misinformation as far as I can tell. And so I think it would be good for the citizens to know how much it's going to cost and what they're going to get for what they're paying. And I think that's incumbent on the board to make a decision like that. So I would volunteer to go out and get as much information and report back to the board, hopefully sooner than 3 weeks, if the board is so inclined.
I'm totally in favor of that. I have brought this before the board 3 or 4 times. It's been comprehensive information, so I disagree, at least generally, that there's some gray areas. The reading, the information provided clarifies it all, in my opinion. That's all, Mr. Chair. Thanks.
Thank you. We're gonna go. We got 6 minutes to 11. We're gonna go to public hearing. Anthony, is that okay to do Luke's presentation prior to the 6E? So 7A. Luke.
Did we do 6E already?
Nope.
Commissioner Boyce said he was joining the two together.
No. The 6E is
Okay.
scheduled payments to the counties, ALC, so PILT and SRS.
Mr. Chair, I don't know what time I put on that, but
Well, we at
10
11
minutes max.
At 11 o'clock we have. So if we do the presentation, that'll put us right at 11 o'clock for the public hearing, and so. So Luke or Anthony, the presentation. I don't read this.
We'll put the presentation will be part of the hearing.
So read this right now?
We will start the hearing, and then he'll do his presentation.
So this is a public hearing.
Commissioner, we just need to adjourn from the board meeting and open up the hearing.
Okay, so we're going to adjourn. Do I have to have
a recess? Sorry, I
recess?
apologize. Yes.
Recess the public meeting and go to
No, recess the general meeting.
general meeting, go to public
Same
meeting.
thing,
There we
totally.
go. Okay, so we've done that. No motions or anything, right, Anthony? Just, so we will now hold a public hearing on the rate increases proposed by Curry Transfer and Recycling. All members of the public are welcome to attend and provide comment on the changes. We will first hear from Luke Pike of CTR. Then we will ask if county employees have any comment. Last, we will hear comments or questions from the public. Finally, the board will make a motion regarding the proposed rate changes. If approved, these rates will go into effect on April 1st, 2022. Luke? Welcome.
Good day, Commissioners. I'm Luke Pike, District Manager of Curry Transfer and Recycling. So just to touch on what I'm here today is to request a rate adjustment of a 4.7 price increase for our lines of business with the county customers. It includes what we pick up also at the transfer stations. The most popular cart size that we pick up for county customers is a 35-gallon, 32-gallon size. That would be $1.26 per month increase for everybody. How it's figured, if you looked at the packet, we take the average. So I know, as you guys probably know, CPI is extremely high right now. I think it's hitting in the 7% now. But we take the whole average, and that's how we come up with the 4.7. So the challenges this past 12 months in rate increases from vendors is extremely challenging. Even just for an example, steel and metal that, for containers, to buy a 6-yard container a year ago was about $900, and that same container now is $2,300. So it's not just a small increase that we're seeing from vendors, and that's not fuel. Obviously, we're all seeing that, but that's a kind of a fluctuation. But a lot of what we're seeing is it's just a new rate structure that we're seeing. So I asked you to look at when you look at our rates, we're asking for the 4.7, and we'll honor that for the year. Looking at our transfer sites, I do want to talk about that. We keep our rates to the nearest dollar. Working in a rural county, we don't have internet access at the transfer sites and things like that to easily run credit cards. We find it easier just to keep it at an even number. Doing that, we generally average out the 4.7% across all our rates to come up with that rate increase. We're not raising the rate of yard debris at our transfer sites this year. We did that last year due to composting, if you guys remember that. And to touch on that, what happened this year, or over the last 12 months, we composted at the new facility in outside of Gold Beach, and that facility was temporarily shut down for a period of time. At that point, we continue to take material as we have to at Ridge Creek and Port Orford. At that point, we continued just to keep it, hoping that gentleman was going to be able to reopen. He has not reopened yet, but last I checked and have heard, he's going to plan on reopening in May. So we're kind of waiting for that. In yard debris in Curry County is a challenge. We're a quarantine county, if you didn't know that. You can't be hauled outside of the county. It's either got to be burned or composted at a high temperature rate to kill sod and gorse. Well, you're not supposed to actually put gorse in that either, but it ends up in there though, but you have to be prepared for that. So yard debris is a challenge for us. We no longer, if we have to go back to burning, if the compost facility doesn't open, we can't burn at Ridge Creek or on our southern county properties because there's too much population there. It's if you've ever been there, there's trees right around the transfer station. If something ever went wrong, the wind changed, it would be catastrophic. So the safest place is the Port Orford area. So we have to transport from South County to North County. When composting's available, we'll transfer from South County to the Gold Beach area. So it's moving. It's not just being burned there. Some of the things this year, the Department of Agriculture, as you probably know, cleaned up a lot of sod around the North County area. They hauled it to our transfer station. They burned that on our property in that same, where we collect the yard debris. So some of what was at the Port Orford transfer station was the Department of Ag burning most of what was going on there. So I don't know the future. If, as far as I know, it's going to go back to composting in the next couple months, and we hope to be able to do that. That will help the DEQ recovery rates for Curry County immensely if he can continue. We did compost about 800 yards within the last 12 months. So that material is, they're still working on that. It has not produced compost yet, but they're, it's still on that property and still planning on being composted. With that, are there any questions resulting on anything you want to know about the trash industry in Curry County?
Clark? You've had some consultation with Council Pope and a little bit with me on the yard debris and tree debris, and you had to raise the rates, correct me if I'm wrong, but $5 a yard to $13 a yard. And so, yes, I heard from one tree removal company that he employs 5 people and is hitting pretty hard. And I think you're working with him to try and help every way you can, but that was quite a jump. And as I told you, he wasn't negative or anything, but it just hit him pretty hard. So I just wanted to give you a chance to respond on that if you could.
Yeah, composting, we move that rate. Composting, as a company, I get charged $10 a yard just to dispose of it.
Okay.
Back then, we were charging $5 a yard to burn it. If you brought it to us, we burn it. It costs $5, or we charged $5. Going to compost, I not only had to transport everything that came into the county at 2 different locations, but also had to pay $10 a yard just to compost here, just to disposal off the top, and that's how we came up with the 13. It's $10 for disposal that I pay, and then it's $3 a yard that it costs me to transport it to Gold Beach from all the different transfer stations. So that's how we came up with that rate. I wasn't asking to, make a lot of money off of that, or anything. It was just to cover costs, and that's how we came up with the 13. That $5 a rate was extremely low.
Okay.
If you compare to other areas, Beaver Hill up in Bandon, it's a transfer station in Bandon. It covers all of the whole Curry County, or not Curry County, but Coos County brings all their yard debris there. And April 1st, they charge $10 a yard, and that's just to burn it. They don't transport it. They don't have to touch it, and it's $10 a yard. So we're not that far off from a general rate structure from other counties. But I do having to look at what over the past couple of weeks, working with that gentleman that had the question about it. I was in a meeting with the city of Brookings. One of the council members there brought up, hey, would you ever be willing to open up another week of free yard debris drop-off for, at the transfer sites? And I got to thinking about that over the last couple of weeks, and we offer one in the springtime and one in the fall, but nothing in the summer. So, he brings up a good point. Maybe that's something that we should do. It kind of spans the whole year, gives people an opportunity to, they can save it up, and then they can just drop it off to us at no charge, 3 times a year versus 2. So, having having thought about it over the last couple weeks, I think that's the direction that we're going to go, and we'll offer up another additional free week of yard debris drop-off. That should help relieve some of the stress to the community members. Also, you know, the chances, as far as I know, that composting facility is going to be up and running in a couple months, and it's going to be back to where it was and where we actually, you know, where for an organization looking at DEQ recovery rates is really good for the county. We'll get that percentage up to where most of the counties are. Right now, our recovery rate's about 24%, and our goal is being right there at 30%. If we can get the yard debris compost thing figured out, we should be pretty close to hitting that number.
Well, I'd be offering a free day, you know, and if it's not just on weekends, so that...
It'll be a free week. It would be...
Oh, excuse me, you did say that.
Yeah, it'd be 5 days of free drop-off.
Twice a year, you're thinking?
3 times.
We already do twice a year. We would add an additional week, so it'd be 3 times. So we'd have one... We do one in May. We do one in October. We'll do one probably August.
One more question?
Sure.
How many other tree service companies do you have, and aren't most of them outside Curry County that use your facilities?
No, we don't take any.
From outside?
I doubt we take anything from outside.
Okay.
Coos County is also a quarantine county, so it's really not supposed to be brought into Curry County as well.
And they chip, most of those bigger companies chip anyway.
You mean outside of Coos and Curry?
Well, no, just, I mean...
most of the tree service companies?
That come into Curry County and contract work out.
Most of what we get are residential stuff. There are a few contractors. We get most of our yard waste from South County. Most of our stuff is sitting at Ridge Creek Transfer Station. We probably, probably 75% of the county's yard debris is from South County.
How many goats do you have?
I think we're at 9 now.
9 goats.
They don't eat enough of it either, but...
More goats. Any other questions for Luke? Any from the public? Any garbage questions? Brett? Yeah. It's a public hearing, so the public gets to speak.
Brett Cecil, Port Orford. I live within a mile of of the transfer station, and I get to enjoy the smoke that happens with the burn and the trash and the debris that's tossed out there. I personally don't appreciate it. I really commend you for going to the trouble of composting and chipping that stuff. I would prefer to see that happen in the future so we get away from burning, because it really does affect, especially people that live in my neighborhood that already have breathing issues. I have to wear this just to go outside my house on a smoky day. It just is a fog bank over the entire area. The north end of Port Orford is just smoke. So that's between residents that are burning their yard waste as well as burning in the transfer station. So I appreciate the chipping and composting. Thank you.
All right. Now what, Anthony?
Make a motion if you're going to accept the new rate increase.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Entertain
The
a
rate
motion.
increases for Curry Transfer and Recycling.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second to approve that rate increase. Any question, comment? Hearing none, all in favor say yes.
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 Motion carries 3-0. Next on the agenda is E.
Oh, we have to close the hearing.
We got to
Go
close
back
the
into
hearing.
meeting.
We're going to close that hearing and back out of recess into the public meeting. Good to go. Thank you for your patience. E, 2021-22 fiscal year scheduled payments to counties. PILT and Secure Rural Schools.
See you, Sam.
See you guys.
Yeah, I think I only need 5 or 10 minutes. But yes, got some good news the other day from Jonathan Sheffield, who is the D.C. lobbyist for Association of Oregon Counties. I put this on the agenda today because we're headed into budget season, and then of course, it's just it is good news, not great news, but it's good news. Basically, I'm just going to read a definition, only about half of the 2.5 pages I got here. just so the public knows, it comes from the U.S. Department of the Interior. Payments in lieu of taxes are federal payments to local governments to help offset losses in property taxes due to the existence of non-taxable federal lands within their boundaries. The original law, and by the way, that's 65% in Curry County. So the law recognizes, skipping here, the financial impact of the inability of local governments to collect property taxes on federally owned land. PILT payments, payment in lieu of taxes, help local governments carry out such vital services as firefighting and police protection, construction of public schools and roads, and search and rescue operations. PILT payments are made annually for tax-exempt federal lands administered by the Department of Interior agencies, including the Bureau of Land Management, National Park Service, and this is kind of important, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and the Bureau of Reclamation. Additionally, PILT payments cover federal lands administered by the U.S. Forest Service, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, that's another subject. And then skipping down, Interior Office of the Secretary has administrative authority over the PILT program. The formula used to compute the payments is contained in the PILT Act and is based on population, revenue sharing payments, and the amount of federal land within an affected county. PILT payments are made in addition to other federal payments to states, such as those for oil and gas leasing, livestock grazing, and timber harvesting. And the reason I kind of wanted to highlight that is because of, we're doing our workshop on offshore wind today. Curry County's sitting number one. Coos County's coming on board, but a little bit slow. But the amount of additional pressure on our county services with this kind of activity, and you'll see in the study of the Port of Coos Bay, we're going to need help on that. And so I'm working behind the scenes with some legislators that basically will help set up the counties. It's not real common on the East Coast, but we're gonna beat them to the punch here through. I serve on the board of the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, and it's starting to get some attention that the counties need to be compensated for this, and that'll come up today, this afternoon. PILT payments are made in addition to other federal payments such as oil, gas leasing, livestock grazing, and timber harvesting. Since these payments began in 1977, the department has distributed more than $10.2 billion in PILT payments to 49 states. Secure Rural Schools Program, it's not RSR, it's SRS. The Secure Rural Schools Program provides critical funding for schools, roads, and other municipal services to more than 700 counties across the U.S. Now, that's the Forest Service portion, as you know. The Forest Service was established in 1905 with 56 million acres of land. This is the kicker here, and this is why so many U.S. rural counties, this encroachment, it's now 196 million. So it is almost, well, not 4 times, but 3 times what it was in 1905. 196 million acres. Congress ratified the act May 23rd, 1908 as a measure to support rural counties whose tax base was limited by the growing amount of federal land. A portion of Forest Service funds generated through multi-use activities, such as, and I've already gone through the list, don't need to do it again, for 2 eligible counties to help maintain local roads and schools. By the year 2000, after decades of declining agency revenues, Congress passed the Secure Rural Schools and Community Self-Determination Act to help stabilize the funds available to rural counties. I got to give a shout out, especially to Senator Merkley, but also Senator Wyden. They have gone to the mat for not just Oregon rural counties, but especially in the western 14 states. Concluding here, payments are divided into 3 distinct categories or titles. Title I for roads and schools, Title II for projects on federal lands, and Title III for county projects. I'll come back to that in just a moment. But through Association of ONC Counties, it's obviously a very important source of revenues. The ONC portion goes into the general fund, so it's discretionary, meaning, of course, we can spend as needed. The U.S. Forest Service goes into schools and roads, and it's not discretionary. PILT is also general fund discretionary. So the word we had from AOC, whatever day it was, Monday, Tuesday, we're going to get about the same amount of funds as last year. Don't tell anyone, but it might be just a little bit more, and that's pretty uniform on both the sources. The pill is good through, the kicker though is the pill is good for only 1 year, because the Senate is, it's a 50-50 split between the Republicans and the Democrats, and so Title III, just a little side note, and this is kind of a bittersweet thing, and I'll tell you why I believe that. Also, Title III may be on the chopping block, so we might want to guard what we have in our bank account, so to speak, now. Although there's no hurry to spend those funds. Some on the Senate are looking to using some of those funds for wildland firefighting. Yeah, that's controversial. It's taken money that is, and you heard Commissioner Freeman and Executive Director Rocky McVeigh mentioned the other day that that's what they do. They fight for the counties to be able to keep those funds and not have them chipped away. And that goes for the Good Neighbor Authority and stewardship programs as well. I won't talk about that today, but it's something that the counties really need to be on guard for. One more, just 2 lines. The SRS are now, however, at a 3-year commitment. So that's good news. And I mentioned the 2 senators. So the payments, at least on the pill, will be here probably within the next
couple months.
Yeah.
June, something, yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Banning injection sites in the county. Yes. Didn't see it, Sheriff. Sorry.
If you don't mind, I'd like to speak a little bit about it. I saw this that was on the agenda, and I appreciate it being brought up because we need to be talking about this a lot more.
Okay.
I did go to the Western State Sheriff's Association conference this last week in Reno, and where I was able to speak to in a public hearing for the public lands. So what I was able to do was get up and at least say, for us rural counties that are really desperate for funding, and I know in lieu of the PILT and the SRS funds that are maybes, if I requested, and there was representatives, official representatives from BLM and U.S. Forest Service there. We don't have a lot of BLM land in our county, but we do have a lot of forest lands, and I believe it was like 67% forest lands. I said, well, why don't you give us 17% of that 67% to manage our own timber, and we can manage it, replant, log it, and all that. And because there's a lot of lands that are within the wilderness area that we can't touch anyways, and they kind of gave me a blank stare, and other sheriffs were saying, that's a good idea. Instead of designating a wilderness area, designate county so we can control it ourselves. They all said there was a legislative fix, so I suggest that we, as commissioners, start with a letter to get that started, to turn over some of the land back to the county so we can manage ourselves and get the timber revenues and get constant revenues coming in over the years instead of waiting to find out if we're getting PILT or SRS funds. What do you guys think?
I think that's a terrific idea, and I think that's probably best, I want to say, muscled through AOCC, not so much AOC, but, and also with the tribes. The tribes have a lot of influence and impact, as you know, and that's, 34 acres we have up, what's the road between the 2 rivers?
Grassy Knob.
Good job. Why do I
That's the wilderness area, yeah.
No, but not where. Yes, it is, but not where our timber is. But that's where we're working with the Coquille tribe, and they have offered to set up a contract where they would actually manage, reforest everything. Have you been up there now?
Yeah, I've looked. I saw. You can actually see it from John Huddle's house. I saw it way back last year.
So, but the concept, now that we've established, or reestablished, I should say, that we have a county forestry project or program. We pull in Josephine and Coos County, who both coincidentally have about 17 or 18,000 acres, and they are always harvesting that timber and managing well. They have each has 2 or 3 full-time employees, and I'm not a bit bashful about going to the Forest Service and saying, throw in the parks while you're at it. You know, a couple parks that they're not able to manage, do not have the manpower. So, again, Sheriff, I think that would come through best. I could be wrong. Maybe there's other avenues, but I think it would best come through AOCC.
Either way, I just think it needs to start as a local, you know, it's our county. We ask for land back that we can manage instead of being tossed into natural resources and wilderness areas. And I agree, you know, we need those too, but I also said I don't want, if we're gonna get 17%, I'm just giving a figure out there, land, I don't want it to be scrub land where there's no timber or anything like that. It's gotta be something where we can, you know, have a start with timber and start managing it.
Chris?
NACO, not this past year, but the year before, I sat in the Bureau of Land Management through NACO and through their meeting, summit or whatever they want to call it, and asked some of those exact questions about giving some of the land back. And they said that we would need to contact our state legislative and move it through that way first before it could ever be considered in federal.
But we get a resolution or a vote on, and I don't say vote it today, but figure out what it would take. And I just threw out the 70%. It could be less, it could be more, I don't know. But this is what we need to do. We need to take some of the land back and manage it. And I think that would be a constant revenue source for us to take care of those things. Excuse me.
I agree.
That's all I had to say. I appreciate that, at least the conversation brought up, so.
Thanks.
Well, I'm sorry you got that blank stare from those folks you asked that question to, because those are the folks that need to not have a blank stare. You bet. Thanks, Sheriff. Okay, if that's all on that, banning safe injection sites in county. Commissioner Pash.
Well, as we probably know, we are constantly going to be facing the homeless issue with the new federal laws and state laws on homeless. But there's mitigating circumstances to that, which is the drugs that come in, and I don't want to label that with only homeless, but the drug situation that we face in this county, to me, is over the top. And I think the first thing we're sworn to as commissioners is to protect and serve our public and make sure that they are protected. So as we continue to grow, to see the growing community of homeless as well as many drug-related problems that we have, we need to protect our citizens. And I would like to look at moving in step with the homeless ordinance that the city of Brookings is working on right now. The language that they've used in that, and asking county council to look through that language and conform that language to Curry County as an ordinance and get that read in and hopefully get it voted in as a county ordinance. I'm asking the board ban all current and or future injection sites for the consumption of any illegal drug, whether it be ingested orally, smoked, injected, or by any other means available. And again, the rough draft from Brookings speaks to some of that. But I would also like to, if we could, because there may be some ambiguity as to what a drug is, what an illegal drug is. And actually, Tony Vowdy and I had a conversation this morning about this, and he had a good suggestion that we actually name each drug, because 2 years from now they may and this is over the top, but 2 years from now they may legalize cocaine.
Yeah.
Who knows? So let's list each drug that we will not allow to be at an injection site for use in this county, and make that the ordinance.
Okay, I strongly support that.
So do we just need a consensus to move that to council?
I think so.
Well, I think we need a vote on this to make an order that council will do
Okay.
the ordinance. Because it's a process to get the ordinance. Have a first reading, second reading, and then post it in the papers and all that.
So do I?
No, I just did what you said just a minute ago. Full support. Naming the drugs specifically.
Yes.
Good. Okay.
And that can be, in that language, we can say to be amended, can be amended further.
So I'm in Brookings the other day, and just talking to a couple of young guys, and they said LSD's back. My God, that was when I was in high school here. I mean, the kids that were really in trouble, they were on that and wild. And LSD. I haven't heard that acronym for a long time.
A lot of people don't know LSD was created for the military to help them through what they were going through. It was created for our military.
A lot of that stuff was created, to help, and
everything is great if you use it right.
Yeah.
So I make a motion that we ask county council to come forward with an ordinance banning, as we've just discussed, all injection sites in the county, and list the drugs that will be we will consider illegal drugs.
Second, Mr. Chair.
We got a motion and a second. Hearing no other questions or comments, all in favor say yes.
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 Motion carries 3-0. Chris, you're up next again. Curry Affordable Housing Project.
I know we're kind of struggling here with the allocations on the ARP money, and I know this board tentatively said, because when I asked us a few months ago for the money for the housing, I asked for 500, and we had a conversation about that, and we ended up allocating 250 with another 250 to come out of the second tranche, and I believe that was the thinking of the board, was that there would be another 250 to come out of the second tranche, but we never made that a formal board order. So what we've had since then is we've had some of the people that are going to be involved in this, and I want the public to know this money isn't going anywhere for right now. This money is just being set aside to let builders know that the money is in place for infrastructure and planning and what we need to do to get these housing projects off the ground. Nothing will be spent until Ms. Crockett's office and several others come together with a plan and with a contract, and the landowners agree to that contract. Then we would look forward to spend some money. But I would like to ask this board to, for the future, to allocate that other $250,000 to set in that account, so that when these builders and people that are involved in this project, they want to know that the county's got that money. They don't want to get a year from now and it's been allocated to something else, and now they're wondering how the county is going to be able to move this forward. So again, all I'm asking for is not the money to be spent, but it is to be allocated from the second tranche, that it's a board order.
Chris, Court?
I don't have a real clear recollection of what we did last meeting in relation to this. The $250,000, we discussed that. I don't think we committed to that, and that money's not going to be here for at least 2 years. So I think we're moving a little fast here. It's a lot of money, and so the 250 is kind of sitting there limbo right now, which I think is good. I don't see any need to. We're going to have a lot of meetings between now and then, and so I'm just not sure why. And there's so many things that can change between now and 2 years. So many things. So if you want to pledge, if you wanted to have a general consensus that would be our priority, I would probably support that, but I'm not going to lock it in unless I'm not going to support that. Yeah.
Go ahead, Chris.
And again, this is something that, this money isn't even going to be available for 2 years, and a future board can change that. This is something that a future board can vote on a year from now and say, you know what, we've changed our mind, we don't want to do this. But right now, we've got people that are wanting to know that this county completely supports this by just allocating the money, not spending it. And again, again, you can, a future board can change that.
Well, they have no security if they know we can, and obviously they can figure it out that we could change it. So we've discussed it, and we have supported this, and I think that's all we need to do right now.
Well, the 250,000 that we've done was a board order, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the next 250,000 would be out of the next allotment of
the next tranche we get.
Yep. The allocation that would come in
2 years.
2 years.
So why don't we just talk about it this afternoon at the workshop?
Well, this is something that's moving relatively quickly, or and wanting to get out to the public who and what and where, just all the particulars, and if the folks that are involved in this, if that makes this come together sooner, I say I'm for it. Because it's not spinning, and it's just saying we're in favor of it, and
it's letting these people know that the county is going to support this project.
Yeah.
If they move forward and do what they're promising
we're
to
serious.
do,
Yeah,
that we're serious enough to put that money into it. But and I want the board to know I have nothing to do with this project any longer, other than I introduced a bunch of people to a bunch of people, and they're going forward with this. I have nothing to do with it now. Other than hopefully a little bit of the design process and from the building aspect to make sure that we have affordable veterans and lower income housing involved in this as well, which one of the property owners has said that's a prerequisite for him doing this.
Yeah.
So I think they're actually all on board with that. But again, this is something that this is the county saying, you have our word that we're going to do this, and here's the proof.
Skin in the game. Court?
Thank you again. How do we know? We've not set up any guidelines on who qualifies, how they qualify. We've not done any marketing to let other people from outside the area know that there might be funds available to help. We're in trouble. I seen Planning Director Crockett coming. So where are the guidelines? So it doesn't. One big outfit gets, I don't know, too much of the percentage. So it's just to make sure.
Just so you know, this isn't for outfits. This is for infrastructure, for planning, for design. We're going to help with that part of it. We're not going to walk up to a builder and say, here's $100,000 to give you an incentive to come build apartments. This is to get a lot of the nuts and bolts in place to make sure that when they get here, they'll want to come build because the infrastructure and the design and layout of it's already done. All of that's already set in place.
And I think you're correct, Gordon. The brains of all of this is sitting there ready to speak. Becky, would you please? Thank you.
I'd love to. Thank you. It probably does behoove the board to look at the second allocation of ARP money for housing based on what we know today. We have two projects that are very much county-backed projects. The first one we talked about a little bit earlier, and that's the 34 acres. The plan there is to do an RV park using park models specifically for veterans. There's some other development on that property, but that's the primary purpose of that focus of that housing project. In order to get there and leverage potential funding options through HUD, we do have to make some financial commitments. We did a survey that was $26,000. We're doing other work to move that project forward as quickly as we can. Excuse me, I'm out of breath. I ran upstairs. So there has to be some surety that there's money available to pay the people that are starting to do this initial work. And the $250,000 was a good start. But now we have the second project that's moving forward, and that project is multiple duplexes or apartment buildings, and it does take a commitment of resources to get that project going and enter into a public-private agreement for the kind of housing project we're trying to move forward. We do have attorneys working right now on that public-private agreement, so we can release that information to the public, but we have to have that in place first. We've had a survey out to that site to do an assessment of what it's going to cost to do the survey. We've had the road department out there as well as the building official to try to figure out what's the infrastructure needs for that location that we're looking at. So these are things that are happening right now, and we do need to, because the question comes up, how are you guys going to pay for this? So we have work in progress that's really work being made on commitments of, well, you have $250,000, but is that enough to cover both projects when we really start rolling forward? So that's my 2 cents.
Really?
Don't leave. Got questions?
I just wanted to say in answer to Mr. Cecil's question earlier, this is why no more information about this has been exposed to the public, because our attorneys have said until these contracts are written and in place, we don't have a contract. We don't have any agreements.
Court?
Yes, thank you. The way this has been explained to me, that this is going to be reimbursement back to county staff for the work that they're aggressively trying to get done to show in good faith our commitment. Do I have that correct?
A portion of it is, yes.
Okay. What was it? Where would it go beyond that? Just so the public can't feel like there's some developer that's preferred over another or something like that. And I'm not slightly, concerned about that right now.
Right. I think you're mentioning 2 different questions. One of them is, how is there assurance to the public that we're not giving preference to any private party over another private party? And that's the work that the attorneys are putting together, but to put together a public-private partnership whereby there is no market advantage to that private sector party. It has to be, it's imperative that that agreement be written to make sure that we didn't give something away that we wouldn't give away to everybody on an equal status. So that's the first question. The second question that you mentioned is a really good one. What are we spending the money on? Out of the blocks right here, we're spending it on survey and legal counsel as well as some staff time. Although none of us have charged money to the housing project yet. We have.
County needs to be reimbursed at some point.
Any other questions for Becky? But before you walk away, if you would, so we talked earlier, and I know you were watching, and we talked about water. If you're willing to share your opinion on what you heard and what, and if you don't want to, you don't have to. I'm just asking.
Well, I've been involved in some fairly large water planning projects, but typically the result of those projects are for the benefit of the water purveyors that have been involved in those projects. In the case of Curry County, I don't know, I haven't seen an indication that the water purveyors, the people that service water to people, I haven't seen an indication they want to get together and look at this from a regional basis. The agricultural community, their water is based on water rights that they have and their purchase. So they're in place, and if they're not in place, they go try to negotiate with the farmer next door to gain that water right. So that's a little bit different than what's been discussed here as far as water planning. I think the issue focuses on water planning really is what are the individual purveyors doing? And we know we have some serious gaps in the ability of some of those purveyors to deliver water. Harbor Water has salt in the water, but there are solutions for that, and they've put that information out there. And obviously Port Orford has some very serious problems in serving their customers that would take millions and millions of dollars to fix. And I don't know that a regional solution is really going to help Port Orford. I think Port Orford needs to help Port Orford and solicit those federal monies that are available to help communities that are in a serious situation like that.
Well, I think that Harbor is just for a study is $250,000, I believe, for this company to tell them how to fix their problem.
But if we have a countywide plan, we can help them. The Brookings Harbor Port wastewater treatment plant is another perfect example. I mean, we're on the verge of losing Pacific Seafood down there, and that's 65 jobs. And that place was built, constructed for 2 or 3 shifts of that 60. So, you know, not having the water, as you just outlined with harbor, you know, the salt content, and you know, the Port of Brookings Harbor needs to be able to develop based on that same kind of security that we're trying to give developers that are coming in.
Yeah, I can't disagree. It's always good to get together and talk about how to satisfy everybody's needs, but you have boards in each one of these cases, and I'm not sure that, you know, these multiple boards are ready to get together. Some of the staff that work for those boards have been eager to come forward, some of them not so much. So it's kind of like the fire districts. They didn't really want to talk to each other until this legislation came down this last session, and they said, you must do these things. And all of a sudden, they're working together, and they invited me to their meeting tonight. So that's a switch.
Yeah. Good. Thanks, Becky.
So I make a motion that we approve the housing allocation for this money not to be spent yet, but to be allocated out of the second tranche to come in 2 years.
Do I hear a second? Hearing none, I'll second that. Any other question or comment?
I'm not going to support it only because I think asking for an extra 2-3 months here or there would not be a detriment. So yeah, I could go either way on this, but I'll oppose it today.
Okay. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed?
No.
Motion carries 2-0. 2-1. Excuse me. 2. Yeah. Reverse. Rerun. We are actually now to commissioner updates. Commissioner Pash is up first.
I just have one thing I want to talk about, and that is that I've always thought that I was, well, Commissioner Boyce, since I've been on this board, Commissioner Boyce has always been the AOC person. I've always been on most of the AOC boards, and I've intentionally not got on those because of the public meeting laws issue in the state. I'm a vice chair on the executive department or board of NACO, and in our last meeting a few days ago, we had an executive board meeting, and I have learned that Commissioner Boyce has joined NACO, and my concern is, I'm glad he joined NACO. My concern is that 2 commissioners being in the same meeting would violate public meeting laws, and I don't know how we can deal with that. If I'm only going to be in the veterans meetings of NACO, and land management are the 2 committees that I am involved in, that maybe Commissioner Boyce agree to stay out of those 2 so that we don't, and that way he can remain on NACO. But NACO basically wrote us back a letter the other day saying that it's not illegal for 2 commissioners to be on their board as long as we understand our own state and local laws. So I'm just asking that I'm on the Veterans Executive Board and the Land Management Member Board, and so that we don't violate any state laws, that I be the only person on that board or in those meetings, so that we don't have any public meeting laws that are broken.
Okay, thank you. I've never heard you give a commissioner's report on your involvement with that committee. They invited me to come on, so I jumped at the chance because it's very good information. I'm not involved in any decision making. I don't believe you are either. It is excellent info. So it's kind of like our management meetings here with the department heads. My goodness, we don't want to miss out on things that are important to the people we represent. So based on there is no conflict of interest or no breaking of open public meeting laws, and I'm assuming you're not on there every time. It's an issue that's near and dear, I think, to both of our hearts. But you know, you might even want to give a recap of the last meeting. It was very well done.
Well, and you just spoke of the managers' meetings. Now, we've just recently, we're publishing those, or making those public, so all three of us can be there. So, and that's
It's just not a big deal.
so we don't break any laws and on purpose.
We're a small county.
Anthony, are you?
So yeah, I
Any
mean,
chime in?
Just a really quick overview. If there's topics being discussed that may be voted on by the board or under the control of the board, the only proper place that two commissioners can be involved in that discussion is a publicly noticed meeting. And I'm not sure about these meetings, if they're publicly noticed or open to the public. If they're not, and they're concerning things that you guys may later vote on, then that would be a violation.
So I'm not even, you know, I don't have any influence on that committee. I'm just purely listening in to see what I can learn, and so no decision making at all. That's why I brought up the analogy of the management meeting.
The issue is that I am a voting member, and I'm an executive member of NACO Veterans Committee. So if we were to be discussing, as we did the other day in the executive committee, we set the schedule for the next 3 meetings and what we're going to be discussing and how to approach that. And it was a 2.5-hour executive meeting the other day. If that now comes into a public or into our next meeting, which it will in our March or in our April meeting, and we decide to do something, then I believe, and I'll leave that up to council, but I believe that's a meetings violation. I'm not trying to make a big thing about this. I just want to make sure that nobody hears. I don't want somebody in the public coming saying you're breaking the public meeting laws. If Commissioner Boyce wants to be on NACO, God bless you for being there. All I'm asking you to do is, I'm on 2 committees, and there's 30 committees, and just to be on the other 28, if you want to be, I'll stay out of them. I'm just, that's all I have to say.
Well, how come you don't bring back information on that? That would probably solve the problem. I mean, wouldn't that be a solution? You know, I'll back off here. I mean, I'm sorry, it just seems unnecessary, and
I don't think that you have to back off. You guys got to coordinate and not be in the same meeting. It sounds like.
No, that's not right. It's no different than you and I both listening to AOCC.
I'll tell you what,
I'm the voting member. So
I'll withdraw from NACO. I'll answer the question, and I'll withdraw from NACO.
So that's the solution. You should be encouraging all of us to
I'm not going to
tune
have
in
the
on that.
Department of Justice coming after me for violating public meeting laws and charging me with a crime. I'm just not going to do that.
Like you did on March 5th of last year.
Let's not
I had
go
12
there.
minutes to get to a meeting.
Not going to do
As
that.
illegal as HE double hockey stick.
So that's
all
all I
of a
have
sudden
to say.
you are.
I will be withdrawing from NACO, and then Commissioner Boyce.
It's really a tragedy, but I hope you will tune in. And there's no.
It's against the law.
Oh. And NACO just confirmed that it's not.
It's not against NACO policy. It is against our own state law.
Anthony,
those are my public comments. That's all I have.
You know, I'd prefer to get my legal advice in private, and
Okay.
I'll look into it. I don't know enough to say yes or no if those meetings are illegal or not, but I think that's a discussion we don't need to have here in public.
Okay. Any other update?
No, I'm done.
Court, next.
I would just encourage you to tune in. It's just awesome. So, Wild Rivers Wild Rivers Coast Foundation. I got my acronym mixed up there. Tualatin Nation. Spent about an hour on the phone with them yesterday. And they have a grant writing program that they would be willing to do that they'd be willing to help with scholarships. And I've got information on that if the board wants any of our employees to be able to take advantage of that. I won't give any more detail than that because I think we're kind of winding it down here. But Rogue Forest Partners, this is part of our collaborative forest landscape restoration grant that we were trying to get $40 million. We keep moving up on the list, $40 million over 10 years, $4 million a year. We're going to be splitting that the third. If I get my way with Jackson, Josephine counties, that's why it's called the Rogue Partners. Really really important to fuel reduction. Siskiyou Mountain Club, this guy by the name of Gabe Howe, he's got a bunch of kids developing trails all over the east side of the county offices, and he's just they're using crosscut saws, and they're trying to build back some of those trails and overcome some of the fire damage, and so I just want to give him a little shout out. The Oregon Coast Trail, getting closer all the time. I won't go into anything today. I'll try and do that on the 6th. Association of Oregon Counties is putting together, and I think it's gaining, well, I know it's gaining momentum, but I think it's going to fly. That would be funded by the counties for a housing coordinator position to represent all 36 members of AOC. And I want to give you more information on that later on. But, you know, early indications are it's going to be a very effective deal with the Association of Oregon Counties. And it'd be kind of like when we need to go to the attorney or when we need to go to other parts, road department, legislative concerns, there'll be Johnny on the spot. On April 6th, we're going to have a courthouse jail update. We are making some progress there. We're going to have a Cape Blanco airport. We won some funding. HBOT, our hyperbaric oxygen therapy system, we'll have an update. And then also on food security I'll try not to overload everybody on the 6th, but some projects I'm really excited about. USDA and economic development, so much money out of there, available there. So we're missing out on that. I think that's all I have. Yeah. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
All right. Well, it's 8 minutes to noon. We're going to, I don't have anything to update. Just no updates. I'll try to get this agenda thing squared away with everybody. Promise it'll be better next meeting. So we'll break for lunch. Be back here at 1 and go into executive session. And then 2 o'clock is the workshop. So
yes, are we going to on the scheduling of the agenda? Are you thinking about a workshop on that, or just?
Well, I think you'll probably talk about it. Yeah, I'll think about that. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. That's it. Meeting adjourned till 1 o'clock. All right, welcome back. We had a good workshop, and now we're out of executive session, and staff has been work is directed. We have we're going to go back into regular meeting for 3 motions, and so I'll entertain motions on 2 higher orders and a county parks order.
I'll make a motion to accept the new hire for appraiser training.
Okay.
Second, Mr. Chair.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0.
Make a motion we approve the new hire for the administrative assistant.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Motion carried. Chris, did you say yes?
Yes.
Yes. Motion carries 3-0. And
I'll
for
make a
the
motion
parks.
to accept the parks agreement as amended.
Second, Mr.
Okay, it's
Chair.
been moved and seconded to accept that parks agreement. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0. Meeting adjourned.
Run for the border.